Hello everyone. People who frequently use the internet make Google searches at least 24 times a day. This means that in just 1 month they Google something more than 1,000 times, and in 1 year over 10,000. Each new search provides them with new information and knowledge. You might think it'd be enough to get all the answers to the questions in the universe, but no, not at all. Today we're going to show you some astonishing things you've probably never seen. Let's get it on. No shampoo. Many professionals keep arguing about how often people should wash their hair. For some, once every 3 days is enough, while others can't go even 1 day without washing their hair. It all depends on the specifics of each person's head skin, i.e. the intensity of sebum secretion. This in turn depends on the proportion of hormones in the body and many other factors. Some hairdressers say that washing your hair too often only makes your head skin produce more oil, but this girl said no to shampoo and combs for several months, or come to think of it, for years, judging by the huge knot on the back of her head. The poor hairdresser she went to for help could do nothing to save this lady's hair. The only option was cutting the tangled hair off once and for all, and he had to use special equipment because everyday scissors weren't good enough. Fortunately, there are more successful cases of people who've decided to stop using shampoo. This girl, for example, hadn't used hair products for 5 years, but no one would ever have noticed. She says that at some point she began to worry about the number of products she was constantly using for her body, face, and hair care. According to Jackie, she used about 550 different chemicals daily. She was appalled by these statistics and decided to look for alternative solutions. For example, she now uses tap water to wash her hair, and several times a month, she also adds soda and vinegar to remove odors and grease. According to the doctors, Jackie's idea is not actually that crazy, especially since her hair looks and smells as good as anyone else's. In fact, the first shampoo was invented in the early 20th century, and before that, people didn't mind living without hair products. Gforce. You must have heard about Gforces. It's a type of force experienced usually by pilots and astronauts and is measured in units divisible by a person's body weight under Earth conditions. It indicates the amount of acceleration that affects a person during movement. Sound too complicated? Don't worry, we'll explain everything. A person on the Earth's surface experiences a force of 1 G. In other words, it's a force equal to our body weight, so we don't notice it. Therefore, 2 G is twice your weight distributed throughout your body. If the G-force experiences 8 times more than usual, you'll feel 8 times the weight of your own body, and breathing or moving will require 8 times the effort. Can you imagine that? Upon takeoff, people inside a passenger plane experience 1.5 G. An unprepared person is capable of withstanding no more than 5 G for short periods of time. If these periods are too long, they can easily lose consciousness. Meanwhile, fighter pilots must endure much more, forces between 8 and 10 G in short periods of time. However, they are prepared, and special protective suits help them cope with it. What's up? By the way, when performing aerial maneuvers, loop-the-loop, barrel rolls, spins, or chandelles, the loads reach their peak. But the astronauts' bodies are subjected to even tougher tests. Special centrifuges are usually used to train the body for long periods of exposure to 8 G. Eternal tattoos. What country do you think has the largest number of tattooed people in the world? The results of a survey carried out in 2018 by the German company Dahlia surprised many people. It turned out that the most tattooed nation is Italy, where at least 48% of the adult population has some kind of picture on their bodies. It's then followed by Sweden, the United States, and Australia with almost identical numbers. Most people don't want tattoos because they're for life, but tattooed people have another concern. They want their tattoos to live much longer than their bodies. Oddly enough, they've found a way to do that. The organization that decided to address this delicate issue is the National Association for the Preservation of Skin Art. It's based in Cleveland, United States, and helps hundreds of people preserve these special souvenirs of their deceased relatives. The organization's founder, Charles Hamm, believes that it's one of the few ways to leave a genuinely beautiful and tangible memory of oneself in life. But how does it work? just like you thought it would. We won't go into detail, but one thing we can say is for sure that after processing, the cut and framed tattoos look nothing like human skin. Actually, it looks a lot more like parchment, and if you discard all prejudices, it may not seem that strange. Special omelette. Which breakfast product can be considered universal? Eggs, of course. They're quick and easy to cook and are compatible with almost any product. You can cook an omelette in dozens of different ways and with many different fillings and toppings: cheese, vegetables, ham or bacon, whatever you can think of. It seems that this woman from Vietnam has gone a little too far with her creativity in cooking an omelette for a restaurant. Chef Lei Lei Hang came up with the idea of making an omelette with living sandworms. As its name suggests, this kind of worm lives in mud and sand. Lei Lei explains that she learned this special recipe from her beloved grandmother and has been using it for 20 years. Today, the omelette's very popular among her clients for its incredible taste and aroma and has been a hit on the local menu since 2007. Want to hear the recipe? Well, first you cut the pork and the shallots, then you add fennel, scallions, eggs, pepper, and other spices. At the end, the precious ingredient is added: live sandworms. The result is this dish, which looks more like a bunch of meatballs than an omelette. Armored glass. You've probably heard a lot about armored glass in cars, but have you ever wondered how it's tested? After all, as with any product, these technologies must be tested before they're put on the market. Well, right now, you can see it happening. While one of the workers sits quietly behind the wheel, another one fires an AK-47 rifle directly at the car's windshield several times in a row. We can only envy the driver's nerves of steel. By the way, how does armored car glass work? The only thing it has in common with ordinary glass is its transparency. Otherwise, this glass has completely different properties that allow it to remain intact, even when shot in the same place. In fact, we're talking about several layers of specially tempered glass, which are connected to each other. When fired, the bullet hits the top layer of glass, losing energy, completely slowing down in the intermediate layers. The last layer then traps the shards and the oscillations of the shockwaves to protect the driver. Parrot Man. Everybody is crazy in their own way, but sometimes freedom of expression reaches the limits of human understanding. Like this guy who's been living like a parrot for over 8 years. Ted has turned his whole house into a big bird cage where he lives with other birds and sometimes even eats the same food as them. He also has tattoos all over his face and eyes, and he cut off his ears just to look more like his favorite animal. Milk from the eyes. You can see a lot of strangers on TV talent shows, but in this case, some viewers will definitely want to forget what they're about to see. A guy under the pseudonym Youngblood appeared on stage of one of the biggest TV shows in the USA with an act that no one expected to see, and they had seen a lot of strange things. The guy showed how he drinks normal milk with his nose and then ejects it out of his eyes. This is possible because our sinuses and tear ducts are actually connected. It's the same reason our nose gets irritated when we cry. By the way, there's even a Guinness World Record for this strange ability. In 2004, a guy from Turkey managed to expel milk from his eye at a distance of almost 3 meters. Wedding in the sky. Everyone's tired of the traditional weddings we've all seen. These days, it's all about being creative. Well, maybe not so much, but at least a little. This couple from California decided to be very original and get married at a height of 120 meters in the middle of a canyon in Utah, in the air, with no kind of safety gear either. If one of the ropes broke, all the people at the makeshift altar would have died. Of course, there were incidents. After seeing his daughter in her future husband's arms, the father of the bride couldn't keep his balance and fell. Fortunately, this did not affect the ceremony in any way, and all the guests went home safe and sound. Between planes. And finally, another crazy trick, this time by Austrian skydiver Paul Steiner. It consists of several complex movements, performed at a height of 2,100 meters. First, Paul climbs on the wing of one of the 2 L-13 Blanik gliders in the air at a speed of 130 kilometers per hour. Then he waits for the second plane to approach, turns around and jumps to the other wing. After that, he gets up, raises his hand, and touches the tail of the upside-down glider he was riding a few minutes earlier. Not a single piece of safety equipment. Nothing. Even when you see it with your own eyes, it's hard to believe it's real. Psst, dude, are you looking for new technologies and great gadgets? Are your thoughts focused on the future? Do you love huge vehicles and can't imagine your life without robots around you? Then visit TechZone and you'll find all this and more. The link is in the description. You interested? Great.